Welcome to Mama Bear's Kitchen. We are here on Patriot Acres in my actual kitchen, and I wanted to bring to you a delicious end of summer meal that's easy and has tons of flavor. We're going to start out with a flank steak that's seared, and it's going to be on top of a bed of mixed greens and baby spinach, sprinkled with fresh berries. I chose raspberries and blackberries because that was available to me, but you're welcome to use anything that you find at your local farmer's market. Then we're gonna throw on top some sauteed onions and some gorgonzola cheese. If you're not a gorgonzola stinky cheese fan, feel free to use blue cheese or feta. They'll both have great flavor and work well with this meal. After that, we're gonna drizzle some extra virgin olive oil on top and some balsamic glaze. And on the side, we're going to throw in some fresh garlic bread and sweet potatoes if your kids are just out of their mind and will not have a bed of baby spinach and greens. So here we go. Excited to have you guys, and we're off. Okay, I like to start first with the marinade because it takes the longest and we want the meat to rest while we're doing everything, all of the rest of our prep for the meal. So we're gonna get our flank steak, skirt steak, round, whatever you have available, and we're gonna get that in this delicious marinade. So I have 1 garlic clove. I'm actually doubling this, so this is more. So it's 2 garlic cloves because my flank steak is actually nearly 2 pounds. I have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, which, like I said, mine's 4 because I'm doubling it. And then I have, which would be half of a cup of balsamic vinegar because I'm doubling, so a 1/4 cup if you're just doing it regularly. And then I'm going to go ahead with a tablespoon of Worcestershire. So we're going to just guess here because I don't have my lovely utensils because I left them in the sink. So I'm doubling that, and there's 2, and I'm going to whisk now to get it all together, to get that brown sugar kind of emulsified, get it to break down, and we're set. So what we'll do after this is, after we season our meat with salt and pepper, we'll stick it right in the gallon bag so it can sit for 30 minutes. All right, so here is my flank steak, and as you can see, this has some nice marbling in it, which will give it excellent flavor as we sear it in the pan. That fat actually gives it that delicious, hearty, deep flavor that we all love so much. So I prefer to put my salt and pepper to taste on my actual meat. It's up to you. You can throw it in the marinade as we did before, but this is my preference. So I like things a little bit saltier. It's up to you. You can do less or more. I like to rub it in to keep it in tight as well. So here we go. Got this all scrubbed in. It's almost like a rub when you're making ribs. So get this together. If you're at this point, you can smell it. It smells amazing. I can smell the Worcestershire. I can smell the balsamic. And once this sits, it's going to have great taste. So I'm going to take this meat, I'm going to take my marinade, and I'm going to stick it in a gallon bag, and it's going to sit for 30 minutes room temperature. While we have our flank steak marinating, I figure it's easy enough to get our garlic bread ready. So I have half a stick of butter, which equates to 4 tablespoons. I have 2 cloves of garlic, stick in here. And then I like to throw in a little bit of parsley for color. If you are able to get it fresh, feel free, but working moms, I use dried. So I'm gonna mash this all up, get it together. If you like margarine, that works fine as well. It actually is more pliable and mixes better, but it looks lovely just the same. So once we get that squared away, we will slice up the bread and put it on it. All right, so I do my garlic bread a little bit differently. I just learned it from a girlfriend of mine, and it alleviates having to cut it in half and smear your spread all over. So if you get a French loaf like I have right now, you can just go with the actual grooves that they put in here with before they bake it. And we cut through them, but not all the way through, just down about halfway, all the way down to the end. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take a little bit and we're just gonna spread it right in here so it gets through. If it's on top, that's just fine as well, all the way down. So when you slice the bread, you're gonna slice it at a different angle like this, and every piece will have your delicious concoction that you have here. And yes, I did put it in a nicer looking ramekin because that's what we do, ladies, right? We like to make things pretty if we have time. If not, I'll probably make it right on this cutting board. And that's what you get, folks. If you don't like it, you're not eating. So look, here we are. Everything's all put together. If you have a little extra, you can spread it on the top. And we are in business. Oh, looks delicious. I'm gonna cut this onion just in half and then cut off the end, and then I'll slice it up so we can throw it in the pan, saute it up to get a nice brown on it so it'll be perfect to throw on top of our bed of lettuce. All right, I like to start with a nice hot pan and throw some olive oil in there. Once that gets to a nice warm temperature, I'm gonna throw my onions in here, and hopefully your pan is warm enough. I have electric, so I go 7, but if you have gas, that would be kind of on medium high. And once you throw it in, you're gonna hear a nice sizzle. Let's hope this doesn't disappoint me like it is right now. Welcome to my world. Oh, there it goes. We're gonna let it sit here. We're gonna let our onions come to a nice kind of almost clear but not limp, and we're gonna get them to a nice brown texture, and we'll pull them off so they will look lovely on top of our bed of greens. Now that our onions are turning a nice translucent color, we're gonna wait until they get a little bit browned, but I wanted everyone to be able to see what we have going on here. And as you can see, we have a little bit of browning over here, so we're just gonna go a few more minutes. Once we get that golden brown, we'll pull them off. They have a nice crisp crunch to them, and they have a beautiful browning as well. All right, now we have this nice brown color, and we're gonna pull them off so they're ready to go on top of our bedding. Okay, so we're ready to cook our flank steak. So I like to have a very hot skillet. So think of keeping it at a 7 if you're electric, and if you're going to be with gas, you want to have it on medium high. I'm going to throw a little bit of olive oil in there so we don't get stuck. The pan's very hot, as you can see, because it's steaming. This pan weighs like 98 pounds, so we'll deal with that in a second. And I'm going to throw the flank steak right in here, and the longer you have it on either side, the more done it's going to be. So if you're a rare, ooh, that's hot. Here we go. So watch your time. I like to feel the meat as I cook it, because the firmer that it gets, the more cooked that it is. You can see on the edges it'll become firmer before it will in the middle, because that is a thicker part. As you can see, I've flipped the flank steak, and it looks like it's burned on this side, but what actually has happened is, because we're at such a high temperature, the brown sugar that we put in the marinade tends to get cooked quicker because of the sugar. So I actually turned my heat down to a 5 because I'm in a cast iron skillet. If you're in some other skillet, you're going to have to make sure that your temperature is what works for you guys best. This also can be done on the grill, and you can throw it in the broiler. Just watch your time so you know the way that you want your meat and the temperature that it is within. Okay, we're all set, so we're going to remove this from the heat, and we're going to set it to rest for a few minutes, and then we'll slice it up for serving. Okay, so we have a finished flank steak here. It's been sitting for 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how you would like your temperature. I think this one's going to be fairly rare, so if you would like it more well done, either leave it longer in the pan or let it rest for a little bit longer. I like to put some foil over the top of mine to keep the heat in. So I'm going to cut this perpendicular of the actual grain of the beef that you can see runs this way, so we can see all of the color and moisture and what we're dealing with. So you can see that this is a very rare piece of meat for all of you very rare eaters out there. This piece you can actually still see the marbling, which is going to give you all that fat flavor, which is delicious, that we all love. The more fat the better, some people say. And if you choose to not let this rest and throw it on top of your salad still warm, be prepared to see your spinach and your mixed greens wilt, which is totally normal. It's just because of the heat, but it is just fine and will still taste delicious. The longer you let it rest, the more it will cook. So you can see that the outer edges are going to be your more well done, and your thicker areas, usually towards the middle, are going to be your more rare. This was actually the rarest part down here, which was the thickest. So as I get to this thinner piece towards my left side, you'll see it will be more well done. A very sharp knife is helpful while doing this. So you can see we have a more well done, a medium to medium rare here, very rare, and your medium out here to the sides. So we have our garlic bread. It's been cooked in the oven for roughly 9.5, 10 minutes. So it's nice and crunchy on the outside and soft and very well seasoned on the inside. So as you remember, we cut this way, and I'm going to cut against this grain. So each piece has this lovely inside taste that we've seen before, and that we added with our spread that we created. So this will look lovely on the side of our summer salad. Okay, so to end up the evening, I have 2 sweet potatoes here that because I am a mom who is a full-time student, a military spouse, and mama bear to many people, decided to throw them in the microwave. So for the 2 of these, it took 18 minutes. If you're doing 1, it would take you 8. If you have the time, you can still roast them in the oven and they'll come up the same way. I've peeled them, I've put them in this lovely dish, and what I'm going to do is take them and just kind of mash them up a bit, just for the aesthetics of it, so they're not so stringy and dried out looking. And I'm going to set them here just like this, and easy as it is, they have all the sugar and everything we need for the great taste. I'm going to take and put a small flat of butter on top of it, and the rest is history. So here we have our final product. We have our flank steak cut, cooked to perfection. We have our fresh berries, our mixed greens, and baby spinach. We have our gorgonzola. If you prefer to not have the stinky cheese, remember you can change it out with blue cheese or feta or no cheese at all. It just gives it a nice flavor with the sweet and the tang you're going to get from your balsamic on your steak. And then we have our sweet potatoes, super easy, just a pat of butter because you have the nice sweet taste that they give to you naturally. And then we have our onions that are going to go with our salad. So I'm going to put this together. Hopefully it looks nice and I don't throw it everywhere. So we'll start with a bed of greens. Put some berries here. Ultimately flavor and color, but it's going to be great. The sweet pop of the berries, and then the gorgonzola, stinky cheese if you choose. Such a nice thing to put together. So here we have that. And then, well, look at me go. I don't have a fork for my steak, so please excuse me. I'm going to use my hands. I'm sure moms do that regularly. We'll set this here. And if you'd like a little dressing, we'll just run this over like this. That's our olive oil. Saved it. Balsamic glaze. Just run this over. Too much will overpower. And let's throw some onions on here for flavor. Look great. So here we have it, folks. Everything together. We'll throw a little piece of, or a large if you choose, piece of garlic bread and a dollop of delicious sweet potatoes. Enjoy.